So I understand like the journey for this actually started on a motorcycle, but I'm curious, there's such like the lyrics on the songs that you picked are phenomenal, but there's thousands of songs out there. What was the criteria to break it down to these songs, if you can even kind of decide why you picked these ones specifically?
I think a big part of it was just trying to see what songs could hold up to the beating that we gave them. We kind of stripped them down. We kept describing it as breaking it down to the foundation and the studs, where when nothing is left and like a tornado rolls through, what's the essence of the song? And these songs, for some reason, still resonated even in a really broken down form. And honestly, it's probably similar to what we do to our own songs with Jared and I and the Lumineers. But to take songs that already exist and try to reinterpret them that way was sort of the litmus test. So certain songs really didn't work, or I didn't feel like I was doing them justice. We tried a Billy Joel song, and I was like, Billy just does it better. I feel like I'm singing bad karaoke. And we tried a Cars song, and I grew up listening to Cars, and kind of realized very quickly that it was so based on the music as well as the vocals and the lyrics that when that was gone, it didn't make as much sense. So it was an interesting journy.
I saw the Billy Joel outtake. I still would have loved to hear it. So maybe in the future you'll
maybe at a karaoke bar or something.
But I do think it's risky to cover other artists' songs, especially when you're so accomplished. But you never know how someone's going to interpret the song. Like I'm sure how you feel when people cover your songs. But you got the ultimate blessing from Sheryl Crow. Because even when I heard that song, I love that you covered it. Because for me, people don't realize it's actually a sad song, but you made it so haunting. What was it like for you to have kind of the christening from the boss herself saying, hey?
Yeah, phenomenal. I was shocked. I wrote a little note to each person that I covered, and heard back from nearly all of them, which was great. But Sheryl Crow was the most vocal in saying that she cried when she heard it, which for me, I mean, if that ever happens to me, that's a beautiful day, because to surprise someone with their own song and bring that emotion out of them, knowing that they had written it, it meant a lot. And it kind of harkens back to, we had covered a Tom Petty song way back in the day when he was still alive, and not that far back, like 3 years. And he ended up coming up to me and telling me how much he enjoyed that version. And that version was super subdued for a song of his called Walls. And he opened up to me about these different lyrics he had and how he couldn't pick a version. And I think I had always felt like, well, if it's not, loud and fast, are they going to just tune it out? And for him, it validated for me that what I liked, he might like, and so might Sheryl Crow. So when she came out and said that, it felt like a little bit validating, like, see, we're not crazy. Like, we thought the essence of this song was someone sitting in maybe a lonesome room somewhere strumming. That's probably how it was written at first. And maybe that's what brought her back to those tears. But she does a great job of covering up the sadness with a punchy kind of presentation, which we can relate to. It's something like Ophelia or Gloria or even Ho Hey, where they're all really sad songs that, you sort of paint over with a bright stroke of like color to try to distract the listener from how sad they are.
I actually think you have balls of steel. You took on the boss, like being from New Jersey. Can you kind of take me into the note you wrote him explaining maybe why you decided to cover it?
Well, he's sort of our patron saint in New Jersey. So I'm born and raised in New Jersey. And I remember being on a rug and playing with Play-Doh. So really small kid, and the Play-Doh getting stuck in the rug, and on the stereo was Bruce Springsteen on a tape. I think he was born in the USA. And I remember as a kid thinking, that guy sounds really like he's lived a lot. Like his voice is very grizzled. And at the time, he was probably early 20s when he recorded that. So I wrote him just a note about what he meant to me growing up. And I guess how he's remained true. He has his own compass, and he's remained true to that, regardless of what fans think of it. And I think that endears him to everyone over a long period of time. You can have a short-term, people can like you for a moment, but it is way more important, I think, to be liked for who you are versus, to be liked for something you think somebody else wants to hear. So I've always admired that about him, and I tried to express that a little bit as well as the song My City of Ruins, which was originally about Asbury Park. Then he sort of changed the meaning to match 9/11. And now for me, it matches the mood in Denver, and I think all over the country and a lot of parts of the world where there's a lot of boarded up windows and empty streets and people on their knees begging and needing help. That's what he's singing about, mixed with this message of hope. So, which he's great at. So yeah, it was I've been covering that song since it pretty much came out. So that was an easy one to pick in a way. I knew I wanted to put it on if I ever made a covers record.
When was the last time, like not counting Instagram during this truly unique year, that you have actually performed a show by yourself, not for family or friends, that it was just you?
Oh, it's been a while. I mean, when Jared and I moved to Denver, and if I came to a party without Jared, or Jared came to a party without me, it'd be like, hey, what's up, man? Where's the other guy? You know, we're just tied at the hip. And I think that was a beautiful way he made a solo record of his own that is this beautiful piano music. It's called Piano Piano. And I've always encouraged him to do that. I felt like it would be a shame to not put it out simply because it wasn't on the Lumineers record. It was just worth hearing and amazing. So yeah, it's I don't play a ton of solo shows, but that's what I started off doing, so I could kind of go back to it. And with all these live streams that we've done for charities and things like that over this quarantine, it sort of like became a thing I remember. It became something I was more and more comfortable with. But it doesn't mean I don't miss playing with the band, because they're amazing, and it kind of reinforces why I told them that the other day. I said, I miss you guys now that I've done all of these by myself.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely no shade to them. We know you love them. We all love them. You guys are very happy. I just think, what was that experience like, being in the studio by yourself for the own creative process? And it looked joyful, challenging, but also maybe like a creative, magical time.
Yeah, I think it was a way to step back into being creative without all the pressure of what we put on ourselves for a Lumineers record. And it was other people's songs. So there is this pressure of like doing the song justice on one hand, but hey, I know this is a good song. I've listened to it. I have an affinity for it. So for me, it was like, getting into the baby pool before you dive in the deep end, for the next record that we make as a band, which we've started writing. And it was almost all joy. There was some moments where I was like, this is not a good idea, like the Billy Joel song we touched on. But a lot of it was just like like a labor of love, I would say. It's like I described the album as like a love letter to these people, these bands, these songs. And I feel like so much of music is like interviews is talking about oneself, and it becomes so inward. It was nice to sort of like show love towards these people that you already feel, but you don't always express because you're promoting your own record or whatever else, like I'm doing right now. But I think we started doing an inspiration song a week, and we'd alternate, Jared and I. And I think that was another way, in the same vein of like showing love and really meaning it, of like what these songs mean to you and how they affect your own songwriting. And it's a real thing. It's how I still learn other people's songs, because it breaks your habits, your bad habits of maybe staying in the same lane all the time, of chords you use or melodies. So
I'm curious, because I saw like the original track listing from 20 years ago of that CD you made. You had Wild Horses on there. And I was speaking to Raptors head coach Nick Nurse the other day, who's learning it on piano. And we both spoke about how this song means so much to us. Is there a chance you recorded it and it didn't make the cut, or maybe later?
No, but I would put it on another one. I didn't re-record it, but it was a great candidate. I think I didn't have that when I was out there. So that was like a cheat sheet that I found later on. I should just try to recreate that whole thing one day. But I made that 20 years ago for my dad for Christmas. For those people who don't know what we're referencing, it was like a CD that I made for my dad when I was like 15 or 16 for Christmas, because he liked if you made something by hand and didn't buy it at a store. And so I recorded on this very bad mic that came with the computer 20 years ago, level quality. So took me forever, and Wild Horses was one of them. There was 4 originals, which I thought was really bold. Like I thought those were worth listening to, and they were all about probably my high school girlfriend. So kind of cringy, but it's good to know you started somewhere and you're at least progressing. You know, you got at least better, even if you're feeling bad about yourself one day.
I love that in the videos you did play a little bit of the original track and watching your reaction. Like, that's still better than most of us, but I just seeing you cringe made me cringe.
No, I have a friend who plays hockey, played for the Leafs. Now he's on the Oilers, Tyson Barrie, and he was saying that he's like, man, after I heard that, I thought maybe I could be a musician. And I was like, all right, buddy.
I was going to ask you
up on the skates anytime soon, so I'm too small, man.
There's another famous friend of yours I want to ask about, if you played it for them, is all around amazing human, nice person, music lover, phenomenal photographer, Pete Souza.
Oh, absolutely. I was just texting with him yesterday, actually. Yeah, I got him the album early, and he seemed to love it. He posted an Instagram post about it, which I think made a lot of new fans for the record, and I really appreciated that. And his relatively new documentary, The Way I See It, totally blew me away. And he used one of our songs in that when the credits roll. It was actually a cover of another Canadian, Leonard Cohen, sang Democracy, which was maybe the hardest song I've ever covered in my life, in terms of like trying to wrap your arms around a song and rein it in, because he's like writing these insanely just prophetic verses, verse after verse after verse, and you're not going to cut any of them, but you don't know how to make an arc out of it. And he was such a genius. So I also think it's so beautiful that came from another perspective, you know, a Canadian commenting on America in that way, having fresh eyes on it, and still seeing what I felt like was the beauty and the ugliness that makes America. It's like we're a walking contradiction, but there is this thing about it that remains hopeful. I hope, at least, and I hope that can happen again in this world, in our lifetime, where I felt like the last 4 years were rather difficult with like being a part of the world. And I think it's happened in a lot of different countries where it's a little more our side against yours and not working together. So, but anyway, I love Leonard Cohen's. I listened to that as a kid with my dad over and over, and I used to make my friends listen to it. And so, democracy, we'd always sing that real low as we could get.
You also have another famous friend. I'm wondering, well, soon to be friend, the chances that you're going to ask the new GM of the Miami Marlins for tickets anytime soon.
Yeah, Kim Ang, I through a friend, he sent me a clip where she said, someone was recounting a story where she said that, have you heard of this band? He walked into have a meeting with her, and she said, have you heard of this band? And it was us, the Lumineers. And he said, yeah, I heard of them because you told me about them. And so I found out she was a fan, and I sent her a little message through a friend of a friend. So I would love to. I mean, also kudos to Derek Jeter for being a part of that whole process of having the first female GM of a Major League Baseball team. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, you know, but it is, and we should really praise it, because clearly she's earned the spot. So I'm still in disbelief, because it's such like a dude's game that and everybody who I've ever heard talk about her just raves about her ability to communicate and work together and sort of positively lead. I'm reading a book right now I recommend to a lot of people. It's called Leaders Eat Last. And I feel like when I hear about her, she reminds me of that idea where you have a lot of empathy as a leader in order to get everybody to actually believe they have to be a part of it. So very happy for her, kind of blown away it's happening. And the icing on the cake was that she listened to our music. So yeah, we'll have her at a show, and hopefully we can go to a Marlins game. And I'm a Yankees fan, but Derek Jeter runs the Marlins, so I'm now I have to be both now.
Okay, I'll accept that. I'm not going to shade you for being a Yankees fan, but I have to tell you, you freaking blew my mind this year over the silliest thing. When did you know that the Air Jordan logo had pants on it?
So I realized this like a year ago, and I just wasn't on Instagram. And then I thought, oh, that's an original idea. I don't know if anybody else ever noticed it, but I posted it, and it was like whoever did have that same aha moment. It was like the same aha moment as when I realized Arby's stood for roast beef, like RB. You know, it's like it's in front of you the whole time. Same moment. But I was watching The Last Dance, which is that phenomenal Michael Jordan, essentially. It's the whole team, but and he was like a hero, like every kid, a hero of mine growing up. I idolized him. And so yeah, I was like, why does he have pants on the symbol? And he does. Take a look.